Okay, we have one administrative report, and that is to discuss the process for adding city council requested items to the agenda. Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco?
So I asked for this item to be added on the agenda to see if we need to have any policies or procedures as to how we place items on the agenda. The reason why I wanted this item was just for us to have a discussion whether we should have a policy, and if so, maybe having it where it's two council members needed to put an item on the agenda or the mayor. But I just want to hear from my council colleagues.
Thoughts, comments on this?
Like, my personal opinion on this is that I don't think we need to have this discussion. I think the way we do things now, we're all elected by our constituents. They expect us to do certain business with, certain things, and it's our job to bring those up. And even in the case where you might be the one council member who supports something, does that mean we shouldn't have the discussion? So for me, I don't see a need to have any other policy other than what we're currently doing right now.
Anyone else?
No.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to see if the council wanted to adopt some kind of policy that it would require two council members, or limitation as to the number of items that each council member can bring about. Maybe not necessarily saying that a council member cannot put an item on the agenda, but maybe having a limit so that way we don't have a packed agenda.
So for me, and I'll talk from my personal, I don't think we should limit what or how many items, because most of the time when somebody's bringing something to council, it's because it's coming from a constituent. They want to see this done. They want to see that done. So now if we start saying we need to limit how many items a council member can bring to council, now you're saying that they have to make the decision as to which constituent's issue is more important than the other. To deny the opportunity of having something brought to discussion at all, to me, it's a non-starter for me. So again, I just don't think it's something we need to really focus on.
Our neighboring cities, for Whittier, a council member would bring it up during council comments at the end of the meeting. If two others are interested, then it is scheduled for an upcoming meeting. Southgate, council member discusses item with city manager before adding to agenda. Santa Fe Springs, council member speaks with the city manager, and city manager discusses the request, with the mayor.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, if I can just interrupt really quick, because I know that I think some of those things you kind of brought up, that's kind of how we handle it, because if there are times when I brought items and I get a call from City Manager Levis saying, how do we want to proceed with this? So it's not just like I bring it up and then we just talk about it. It comes on the next meeting. Usually there's work done behind the scenes for each item that's brought up. And I mean, to the best of my knowledge, that's still happening today. I bring it up, and then a day or two later, our city clerk goes ahead and sends the council assignment list with not only who asked for it, who it's being assigned to. And so we are kind of working with city staff to make sure that the item that we suggest is something that we want to actually have a discussion on. At least that's how it's worked for me, and that's how I've seen it. I don't know if it's done differently for any of you, but that's how it's been done for me. So I don't see the need for us to do anything different.
Okay, well, actually, Whittier does it differently. They need two council members to put an item on the agenda. I'm just saying what other cities are doing.
Yeah.
Not that we necessarily have to do anything. Let's see.
Yeah. I don't know how else
then-
to say it, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, but
And then,
we're leaders, not followers.
And then Mayor in Linwood, Mayor approves request or 3 council members approve adding to the agenda, which is probably not a good idea, given that it could potentially be a Brown Act violation. And again, this is more, and it's not really a concern for me, it's more of a concern for staff who has to be here, who work tirelessly. I'm always looking out and being mindful on staff and making sure they're not here until 1 or 2 in the morning. But again,
Not only
it's
that.
really up to my council colleagues. This is just something that I wanted to bring up. If no action is taken, I'm comfortable with that too.
I think, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Ashton, if I'm hearing you both correctly, we want to continue to move our city forward and be as efficient and as effective as we can with the time that we have, and also utilizing the staff's time and resources in the most efficient and appropriate manner. It is important to know, I need you to stop when I'm talking. If we continuously put items on the agenda that have absolutely no traction, this is what it comes to. We stay until 11 or 12 midnight with, 3 individuals that have absolutely no business speaking to anything we say. And really, items that are of importance get buried because there are other items that may be placed that don't, there's no traction within our council. So I think, again, I'm not, for or against, I'm just providing additional commentary.
So I'll say one other thing, and then I'll have my piece with this. There are times when I've personally put things on the agenda, not necessarily because I thought it would have traction, but because I felt that it was necessary to have public speak on those items. Not, for me, I knew I wasn't going to have the vote, and the city manager asked me, you're not going to get the votes on this. I said, I know, but this is an important topic that the public needs to have the opportunity to discuss with us. So sometimes we do things not necessarily because we're going to get the traction and get the vote, but there are people in our community, and I'm not, like when I did this, we had a lot of people come for that item, but they wanted to have their voice heard. And so as representatives of the citizens, we need to give our residents that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
And that's, dude, come on. That's the purpose behind, and whether we agree with certain things that are brought up, and that's why we have the vote. But regardless of that, we have to make sure that we're representing what our constituents want.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely, Sean.
Granted, we all have different constituents because we the four of us are in sections of the city, so each section is somewhat unique. When we have issues that we think are important, we need to make sure that we give opportunity for our residents to speak on them. And I think having the opportunity for us to put stuff on the agenda does that.
Assistant Manager, City Manager Oskoui, would you like to
Madam
speak
Mayor,
on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I don't think that, listening to you all and having had the opportunity to work with each one of you, I don't think the intent is to suppress any member of this council, this body, to have the ability to represent their constituents. I don't think that's it. Sometimes what we have been confronted with, though, is the fact that because of limited resources, we won't be able to handle the number of requests that come in at a certain time. I think what you are getting to, and forgive me if I'm not characterizing it right, you can correct me, but I think the intent is to have the opportunity, the council members having the opportunity, in essence, to prioritize the items that they want to put on the agenda. So you get the opportunity to discuss amongst yourselves which items you think should be discussed first because of their sensitivity, because of time sensitivity, or because it's an urgent issue or something that needs to be discussed right away, and which ones can stay a little bit longer to be discussed at a later time. By the way, Councilmember Ashton, the list that you referred to that gets generated, in fact, City Clerk will stay on tonight or perhaps early in the morning. She generates that list before we go into a staff meeting the day after the council. Those are the action items. Those are not necessarily council reports. Those are the action items that get generated, the cleanups, the complaints, those kind of things that each department has to handle that gets assigned to a member, a director. So what I have seen in other cities too is the ability of the council to decide which items to discuss first, prioritize, because again, as the mayor mentioned, as you know, we need to do justice to your requests by doing the due diligence in doing the research, in doing the work that it deserves in order to bring a complete report before you to consider and discuss.
So then my question to you, Mr. Assistant City Manager, is how is that different than what we do now?
Well, right now, what happens if a certain member of the council comes to a staff and wants to place an item on the agenda, the item is going to be placed on the agenda.
And if we suggest something, it's going to get placed on the agenda. And you were talking about, then we have a discussion as to when it's going to get placed and when do you want to do it and this and that. We've had right now, currently, everything you described that you would like to do, to the best of my knowledge, is already done. It already is. Because at least if it's different for other of my colleagues, then that's something, that's a different conversation. But everything you just described to me right now, as far as having the opportunity to decide when we want to do certain things or not certain things, and that happens. That already happens. I've had items that I've suggested, that I've had discussions with staff, and they've not come to council because we've had that discussion already previously to say, okay, is this something we want to work on now, or is this something we can put off for a little bit later? That's happened. So we're doing what you're suggesting that we do is something we're already doing to the best of my knowledge. So what are we changing? We're limiting the fact that when a council member comes to share something, that he has to have somebody else approve it. That's literally what was suggested.
That's what they're
And
doing in
I'll be
other
honest with
cities.
you, I am against that.
I'm just saying what other cities are doing. So maybe, I don't know if Councilmember Trujillo wants to say anything. No?
Nothing for me.
Okay. And if there's no motion, it's okay. All I wanted to do was have the dialogue.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
So then I'll
is
just
there a
make a motion to receive and file.
Is there a motion?
I'll second Sean's motion to receive and file.
Okay?
Yeah, we'll end it there.
We need to vote on that? Okay.
Trying to gaslight you. Wow. Even the city manager's in down there.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Alvarez absent.
Assistant City Manager Oskoui, do you have any final comments tonight?
Madam Mayor, I think I've spoken enough.
Okay. Well, we will adjourn tonight in memory of the victims of the earthquake in Haiti and the lives lost to COVID-19. Please, a moment of silence.